How's it going, fellas? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about what's in my camera bag essentially for 2021, because well, 2020 does not exist. It never happened. 2020 should have been in the Mayan calendar as the year that the world ends, or at least restarts. I don't know what the hell.
This is going to be a comprehensive review.
My name is
Shut up!
I think most of us are, obsessed about gear and are nerds in our own special right. And this here is my obsession, right? So when I obviously started out, the thought of having a lot of gear was always very desirable. The heavier the backpack, the more pockets filled, the better. But then, as time goes on and you take a lot of gigs and you take a lot of projects, you realize that your back really can't take it. And there are so many things I was carrying around that I never used. I mean, I was like keeping them in my bag, in the event that I might need them. But realistically, after I started, refining the way I shoot and the type of, footage and photographs that I take, I stopped using them. So now we have like a tiny version of, the essentials, the things that I absolutely need when I'm either, shooting like a travel vlog or something like that, or if I'm shooting like a professional gig for customers or clients. To start off with, obviously, you need a backpack. Let me show you where all of these, usually live. So this, I don't know if you guys can see this, hopefully you guys can. So this is a Mindshift backpack. I think it's a 36-liter backpack. I got it around March 2018. So this has effectively been with me for a little over 2 years. Probably one of the best investments I've made. Didn't actually think that when I bought it, because I was an idiot, or so I thought I was an idiot. Immediately I came back home, the first professional gig that I did. I'm so glad I had this because all of my camera gear had to rest in the back of a truck for almost 3 days, which was literally the worst freelance job I've ever done. I've done a video about it. Go and check it out if you haven't heard the drama that I was in. But I'm so glad I had this, and it was protecting my gear. And that's necessarily what you want. You're carrying thousands of dollars of equipment. You want to make sure that your gear is in a place where everything will be kept safe. So moving on to the main event, the cameras. So I've always had two cameras, that I've always used, simply because I always shoot with only prime lenses, simply because I can't afford to have like a range of good lenses. And good zoom lenses cost a pretty penny. So prime lenses are cheaper, or tend to be cheaper if you want really good quality. So when it comes to lenses, or the way I carry my lenses, is always like a telephoto or a wide angle lens, which I'll get into in a bit. So my main camera for video will be my A7iii. I was about to say A7S3. Wow, I would love to have an A7 10-bit video. Pretty amazing camera. There were multiple reasons why I'm shooting Sony. The main one being the fact that I don't have to have additional batteries. I can charge this off a power bank. And also at the time, my first Sony that I bought, which is the one that I'm shooting on with right now, which is the A6500, I switched to that from Canon simply because at the time I could only afford to get this camera with 120 frames per second, because I was shooting a lot of slow motion work for clients. And the Canon equivalent at that time was only the 1DX, which could shoot 120 frames per second, which is why I am a Sony shooter, unfortunately. Well, maybe not unfortunately, but I'm a huge Canon fanboy, simply because Peter McKinnon shoots with Canon, and one day I'll have the 1DX, whichever mark that's out. I want a big chunky camera. Even though now that I see the value of, having like tiny cameras, because you want to carry a lot of things. Yeah, one day, 1DX Mark 15 maybe. So the A7iii is my main camera, and my new addition, which I did a unboxing or a sort of a parody unboxing with my girlfriend, which is the A7R III. Now, obviously, I was initially into, I was doing a lot of video work, but as of late, like I explained in that video, I do some photography work as well. So I wanted a good photography camera as well as a video camera, which is why I opted for the A7R III. Technically, there's not many differences, and as a photographer or videographer, it doesn't really matter if they're almost the same, except for the fact that one has a higher megapixel count than the other, twice as much, which doesn't really matter if your work is online. Along with these cameras, like I said, I always shoot using I use two prime lenses, the wide angle and the telephoto. My telephoto is the amazing, ooh, look at that, oh no, there's a speck of something, look at that, I don't know if you guys can see, look at that f1.4 goodness. That's so pretty. I mean, it makes me happy just to look at. Oh, what the hell, I absolutely love this lens simply because it's a telephoto, so you get a lot of compression, and on top of that you get that f1.4, which gives that massive blurry background, that makes everything just look better. And my second lens, which is the wide angle, which you guys are watching this through, is the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which is a crop sensor lens. Those are my main two cameras, but sometimes if I want something in between, I have my 50mm 1.8, which is called the Nifty 50 in the Canon world. I don't know if the Sonys are referred to as Nifty 50s as well, but basically they're the same. I do need to find a wide angle full frame lens, but right now I can't afford to spend the money on it, and these are getting the job done for me quite well, so no complaints at the moment. That's the image. Now let's talk about audio. So one of my newest additions to my camera kit is a Saramonic Blink 500. I think it's called. Pretty amazing addition. I absolutely love the fact that my audio is wireless now. The fact that I can have a boom mic for my videos and don't have a lapel. I really appreciate that. As far as video mic goes, I hate microphones that I have to add batteries to. So I did have the Rode Pro mics or whatever, but I switched down to the VideoMicra or the Micra, which I just have to plug, and the audio quality is just as good. You guys are hearing the audio from it, where I've connected. So this is what I've done. I've got the Saramonic transmitter connected to the VideoMicra, and that's transmitting directly into my A6500. So that's pretty much image or the basics of image and audio. So moving on to the next important thing, which is SD cards. So now I carry around my SD cards in this, Pelican case. I don't know if that's what it's called. I've had it for almost 5 years now. I don't mess around with SD cards simply because they need to be treated with a little bit of care, because everybody's so worried about data corruption. Touch wood, it hasn't happened to me, and I'm not surprised the way they jam their SD cards into their cameras, and they share or give around SD card, especially freelancers. If you guys are freelancing, do not give your SD cards to anybody, because people don't care about other people's gear, and they're just gonna jam it, and they're constantly gonna introduce micro impacts, which mess the molecular structure of all of these cards, and then later on it's gonna corrupt your files as time passes. So keep your SD cards in a safe place. The next is obviously this is one power bank, but I have a couple more power banks that I carry when I go on projects. I mean, one of the main reasons that I love the Sony system is that I can just charge this while I'm shooting using any power bank, whereas the Canons, they don't really let you do that. I'm not sure if the new ones do. That's another major drawback. Like, batteries are expensive, and on top of that, switching batteries out can waste a bit of time. This is just plug it directly into the power cord while you're shooting. Doesn't take that much time. I just carry this in like a pocket while there's a wire sticking out to the camera, or like whatever works at the time. And also, this was like a very recent addition to the, I don't think I've got B-roll shots of this because I just added this to my collection maybe 2-3 days ago. So this is like a USB hub that has a cable that goes out. all of these are USB charged, even the Saramonics, my phone, pretty much everything that I have. So I've realized that I can't have one outlet with multiple adapters connected to it. So just you know, I have a lot of USB-Cs that go to all of these devices. That makes life a lot easier. These guys are such important pieces of glass. And when I say glass, I don't mean lenses, but stuff that go on top of the lens are the filters. If you want to do professional work, right? If you want to do cinematic work, you need ND filters. Obviously, there is a rule where you need to take your frame. If you're, for example, if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, your shutter speed should be at 1/50th. And I don't necessarily stick to 1/50th all the time. I go around 1/50th, 1/60th, you know, maybe a little bit higher than that depending on the light at the time. But when you're out in the hot sun or when you're in a space where there's a lot of light, you can't push your shutter speed all the way past 1/100th of a second, because it's going to be very apparent and your video is not going to look cinematic. So in cases like that, you need ND filters, ideally variable ND filters, because if you take a look, as I turn this around, I don't know if you guys can see this, the strength of, you can change the strength of the ND. And you need this if you're shooting professional work or if you're trying to get cinematic work, because you need a bit of motion blur. Your image can't be tack sharp all the time. When it's too perfect and it's overly sharp and it's very jittery, it just makes your footage look like it's been shot from a mobile phone. So I have two of these because I have two lenses. I have the telephoto and I have the wide angle. And I also have these step up rings. I have all the way to the smallest diameters so that I can use this ND filter on pretty much any lens that's smaller than, what's this thread? That's smaller than 77 millimeters, which is a pretty big front element. So yeah, just make sure you guys have either one or two really big ND filters and just get step up rings, because you can't literally buy a new ND filter every time you buy a new lens, so it comes in handy. So one of the other things that I struggle a lot with is managing cables, because like I said before, all of these things that use power have or come with a lot of cables. So I have or I recently got this pouch that has compartments for me to store these cables and also to store some of the Peak design stuff that I have. So let me show you some of my Peak design stuff. Now these are a bit of a luxury brand. As much as I wanted to treat myself some really fancy camera gear, they're also very functional, because now there's a reason I'm not showing you my gimbal, because it doesn't go around with me at all unless I know I'm using the gimbal for a shoot. And when I'm shooting on a gimbal, I switch in between gimbal and handheld a lot, and when I'm shooting handheld, I need my strap. If you guys know Peter McKinnon and all these guys, they use that 3-point strap stabilizer kind of thing to hold on to the camera like that, so it stabilizes the shot, especially if you have like a telephoto lens. And it's so easy to just remove the lens, remove the camera strap, and then just drop it straight into the gimbal if needed. So which is why I went and splurged on a camera strap, even though all cameras come with it, and I needed that quick release feature just to save me a lot of time, because just putting a strap on and taking a strap off in the middle of the shoot is a headache, or is pretty painful. And also, my god, this is another Peak design product that I absolutely love, which is called the capture clip, and they come with these plates. So I have two plates that go on both of these cameras that can slide into my gimbal or into this. So I usually have this on the slides in like that and holds the camera. I usually carry it on my back strap, so when I'm when I'm doing a lot of outdoorsy stuff, I can't have that camera hanging on my neck using the strap, because it starts swinging about. It's a lot easier to lock it on my shoulder, then it doesn't move around. and I'm always carrying my camera bag with me, so it has helped a lot in keeping my camera gear safe. And it frees up my hands to hold on to places if I'm going somewhere dangerous. And I can also add this onto my belt. I shot a wedding, my first wedding at the beginning of this year, and this helped a lot because I had carried 2 cameras with me all the time, and I was wearing a suit. I couldn't carry my backpack. It was very convenient to just lodge my camera on my hip or my second camera, so I could just switch in between. And I have plates for both of these, so I can interchange when I'm shooting. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I use the most when it comes to my camera gear, and the stuff that I use to shoot these videos, and also client work, and also vlogs and travel vlogs and stuff like that. So I hope this was entertaining. I hope this gave you a little bit of insight as to the gear that I use. I know it's not very important, and I try to preach that as much as I can. All you need is a phone if you're trying to start out. But it makes life easier when you have the gear. Whenever I buy new gear and whenever I switch from one system to the other system, immediately I have so much regret or buyer's remorse, if that's how you even pronounce that word, simply because I don't know how to use it in the first month or so, and I get really upset. Until I can extrapolate all my knowledge and my skill about photography and learn how to apply it to the new camera or the new gear that I get, my work is really bad. So keep that in mind if you guys think that it's always gear that is important. Sometimes it is, sometimes, or more often it's not. With those words of wisdom, I guess that's it. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will make another video soon.